Well, hello there and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my channel if you are new here. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about some nostalgia for you. So in the South, there are a lot of gas stations that have really good food. And I remember as I was growing up being surprised sometimes at like what I could find. Because usually it was just biscuits and fried chicken and sandwiches and stuff like that. You know, it was really cool to have those things when I was younger. They probably didn't do anything in the way of my health. In fact, I'm sure they did much worse for my health. But they still hold a very nostalgic factor for me. From living in the South all the way to living in Arizona for a bit. And for some reason, I hold a lot of memories, and they're good memories about the food from gas stations and some bad ones. So yeah, I don't want to talk about those on camera. Anyways, here are 3 recipes of my favorite gas station foods recreated as close to carnivore as possible. Alright, beef seems to be the only thing that comes to people's minds when they think about the carnivore diet, but there's so many other meats. You got pork, chicken, lamb, venison, fish, any type of fish, crab, shrimps. But shrimps is bugs, so don't forget that. But for this one, I'm going to be working with some chicken. I was thinking about the gas station that used to be down the road. They had bacon wrapped chicken tenders, and it was so good. And I think all they did was take chicken tenders and wrap them in bacon and then season them with, I think, Cajun seasoning. I'm not 100% sure what their secret gas station recipe was, but I'm going to take a little bit of a different route, but I still want the same outcome. Instead of the chicken tenders, I would like to replace mine with strips of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And to take it to another level, I'm going to be using the yogurt type method to marinate these chicken thighs in. I'm going to be using sour cream because I didn't really want to get yogurt. I usually have sour cream anyways, and it still has enzymes that will help break this down a little bit. And this idea is super duper simple. So this is 3 pounds of chicken thighs. I don't really want to use all 3 pounds for this right now, but you can adjust as you need to. I'm going to use about 1 pound of this, so 1/3 of this package. And if you get boneless, skinless chicken thighs, it should just kind of unravel and you'll be able to cut strips, which is the next step. You have your chicken, you got your knife. I'm literally just going to cut these in half. If there's any like really weird pieces like this, you can always just snatch that right off. That's just going to take too long to cook up. We'll throw this into the bowl. If you have really big ones, you could probably get 3 pieces out of it, but I'm just going to kind of keep it similar. All right, got our chicken in the bowl. I'm gonna take my sour cream. I'm gonna throw in roughly 1/3 of a cup. And to get my Cajun flavor, I'm gonna go with my seasoning. This is Gator Bite from Carnivore Companion. You can use any of your favorite Cajun seasoning. And don't forget, you can always use just salt if that's what works for you. And I'm gonna throw in about a teaspoon worth into this. Don't want to go too crazy because the bacon's already going to be salty, and I will be seasoning the bacon just a touch more with this, just so I can get the nostalgic vibe that I got from my gas station bacon wrapped chicken tenders. All right, so take your clean hands and just mix it up. It should sound like really good mac and cheese. And if you're wondering how I got a teaspoon of the seasoning to be put in here, I typically like to season 1 pound of meat with about a teaspoon of seasoning. And once it's all mixed, you can have your very dirty hand that you should wash pretty immediately. But as soon as that's mixed, you can take this, throw it in your fridge, and let it sit for, I don't know, at least 3 hours and up to 12 hours to get the maximum benefit of what the sour cream is going to do for the chicken. So we'll be back. All right, it's been about 3 to 12 hours and our chicken is ready to start wrapping. I've got my oven preheated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 Celsius for the rest of the world, and we can begin to get these little guys ready. All right, so I got my bacon, I've got my chicken here. I've got roughly 11 strips because I got 11 strips of chicken, and all you really need to do is just strip, take a piece of your chicken, kind of get a little of the excess off if it's a lot on there. All I'm gonna do is lay that on the edge. I'm going to roll that up. It should look a bit like that. Just a nice little package of bacon and chicken. And we will repeat. Well, these will stay here for a little snack for later. Let's get these evenly spaced a bit. They don't look pretty right now, but I can almost guarantee that they'll look pretty good when they're done. All right, the next step before throwing these bad boys in the oven is to get your Cajun seasoning that you put in previously into the sour cream with the chicken and then sprinkle just a little bit extra on top. But now that they have just a touch more seasoning on them, I'm gonna throw them into the oven, and I'm gonna set a 20-minute timer because I don't know how long exactly these are gonna take, but I will check these in 20 minutes and I will give you the exact time it took me to cook mine when they're done. So I will check in, done. And that took 25 minutes. I was mostly looking for the chicken to reach an internal temperature of 175 Fahrenheit, which is where like the cartilage and all the tendons and stuff start to break down in chicken thighs. I'm hungry. It's 7:30 at night. I'm gonna get this out onto a plate real quick so it can look all pretty. I guess I'll just... All right, and here they are. They look great. I'm pretty excited to eat these. I'm gonna add just a little bit of parsley just to pretty up a little bit more, even though I know some people don't like that. I know. I can hear your comments already. But before we dig in, let's take a nice look at these. But these are gonna be good. Let's give them a taste. They're still piping hot, so I'm gonna be careful on how I do this. I'm not gonna lie to you, this is so close to the gas station bacon wrap tenders I was getting, but using the chicken thigh made it so much more tender and so much more juicy, because sometimes I get those things, they would be dry as a bone. I have to dip them in something, just anything to make them more edible. But they tasted so good that I didn't care. This doesn't need a damn thing. This is great. And it's got the upside of being a dish that anybody would probably like. I can't imagine too many people wouldn't eat this unless you just don't eat bacon or you don't eat chicken for some reason. Make this for the family, even if you're not carnivore. I bet they'll like it. Oh yeah. Today's video is sponsored by my company, Carnivore Companion. If you don't know about Carnivore Companion, come on in, I'll tell you a little more about us. If you're looking for real ingredient seasoning with no artificial BS inside of it, you need to check out Carnivore Companion. This is my company, and I produce all of these. My main goal was to make something that tasted delicious, but was also free of BS. If you walk into the grocery store and pick up any bottle of seasoning, you will likely find some ingredients that are starches, additives, and quote-unquote free-flowing agents and preservatives. When I first started, I only had one seasoning, and I found out really quickly that I don't really need all these things in there. And to be honest, you can kind of taste those things after you swap to something like Carnivore Companion. We currently have 5 different seasonings with more in the works, and we are super proud of these seasonings, and they taste amazing. If you're looking to level up your carnivore diet, check us out. The link is in the description below. Just go to www.carnivorecompanion.com. Get a special discount. Helps me out, helps my company out, and we appreciate you. All right, let's continue on. Okay, another gas station favorite of mine was taquitos. When I was in college, they were really cheap. You see, at a Quick Trip, I could get like 2 for $1.50, I think. And you know, just being poor and in college and eating ramen and just getting fat off that stuff, I grew to love them just because like they do taste amazing and they were cheap, obviously. Considering the restrictions I am putting on myself to feel better, I wanted to make something easy. And I've tried taquitos in a past video, but they didn't really turn out like I wanted to, so this is my second attempt for those people who have been looking for that. And I won't delay this any further. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so it's gonna be a pretty simple process to actually get the tortilla dough going. The hardest part that I found with making any type of like carnivore tortilla is that it's a little more difficult to work with, just because the ones I make tend to be a little more clumped up. So you wanna get yourself a food processor, and the first thing I'm gonna throw in is 1 ounce of pork rinds, and that is by weight. And to this, I'm gonna add about 6 ounces of mozzarella cheese. This is low moisture mozzarella. You really don't want the high moisture mozzarella because it's just going to leak and make a very wet batter, which we don't want. We want 1 ounce or about 2 tablespoons of cream cheese as well. This is high quality, good Philadelphia cream cheese. And then finally, we want 2 eggs. And just to make sure this is going to taste good, there's a decent amount of salt in the pork rinds, but I'm going to add just a little bit more, probably a 1/4 teaspoon. So let's go ahead and get this blended real quick. We'll start with a few pulses. And we'll take a spatula and just kind of scrape that down into the bowl. That's looking pretty good. If you've ever seen my carnivore enchiladas video, this is pretty close, but I wanted to make a modification to like kind of help it even out a little bit better. What I want to happen is the cheese to melt and flatten out a bit and make it more malleable as well, because the pork rinds kind of stiffen it up. All right, so I've got the batter ready and I've got my oven set to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I got a baking sheet with some parchment paper and a flat surface to flatten these bad boys out with. I'm gonna use a cookie scoop to get mine just so I can get some nice looking portions. Feel free to use your hands for this part if you want to. I've got a nice ball of it. I'm gonna put it out right there. I'm gonna try this parchment paper again and use this lid again. Maybe the combo will make it a little bit better. And all I'm trying to do is get it, you know, flat, just as flat as I possibly can, and as round as I possibly can, because I do want it to be a taquito. And that will come right up. All right, before I even get these into the oven, I'm gonna set them aside because I want to get my filling ready. Because what I plan on doing is par baking these, putting the filling in, and then wrapping them, and then baking them again so that they will seal. And by the way, I still have batter left. This is definitely enough for probably like 10 of these little tortillas right here. And I'll also note that in the recipe. So I will be using beef for the filling today. This is going to be 8 ounces of ground beef. I'm going to season it up with my taco seasoning, but as always, I'm going to leave this super duper simple and delicious taco seasoning right on the screen. It'll be written in the description below. And I was listening to a podcast with Bert Kreischer in it. He was talking about how he wanted Taco Bell meat like the way it was made, and he threw it in a blender, and that got me thinking, that's not a bad idea, honestly. It also doesn't mean we should not start chopping up our meat to get it fine first. I'm going to use a half teaspoon of my seasoning. Don't forget the super duper simple taco seasoning will be written down below. Don't feel like you have to buy anything that I'm using to make your food taste good, because that's just not how it is. And like always, taste your food for seasoning. That is browned enough. All you gotta do is take this beef, throw it into your food processor, along with a half cup of cottage cheese, and then simply blend it. And what you're left with is what I can only describe as like carnivore refried beans. It's got a very similar texture to the beans you get at a Mexican restaurant, and it's honestly got a similar flavor. And it's going to be the filling for our taquitos. All right, we can go ahead and get our tortillas in the oven. I'm going to set a 5-minute timer to see if I can actually par bake these. So let's just see what happens. All right, it's been 5 minutes and these have been par baked. I'm gonna let these sit here for an additional 5 minutes just to kind of cool off, just make them where I can handle it better. All right, it's been 5 minutes and I can confirm that these are coming up with relative ease. So I got those up, got them flipped over. Now I'm gonna fill them. For taquitos, you don't need a crazy amount, like a dollop's probably gonna be almost too much. And there's enough filling here to do the 10 that you could get with the tortillas. All right, we got one. We'll finish the rest. Little taquitos. We'll throw these back into the oven for about 5 minutes and we will see how they're doing. All right, and while those are in the oven, I want to take this time to make a nice and easy cheese sauce. You don't have to make this if you don't want to. It will make this taste even better, but it's very, very dairy heavy. I know this whole thing's already been dairy heavy, but what I'm looking for is some nostalgia, and I wouldn't suggest eating this all day, every day. Here I have just under a 1/4 cup of heavy cream, and to that I'm going to be adding 4 slices of trash cheese, or American cheese for those that aren't initiated, and then finally about 1 ounce of really sharp cheddar cheese just to add some more flavor, and just a nice hit of our taco seasoning that we made earlier. And I've got my heat set to medium low, and all we're going to do is just start moving this around and reduce it until it's nice and thickened like a cheese sauce. And this shouldn't take long at all. Go ahead and turn your heat off because the residual heat will finish melting this cheddar cheese that's left over. I'm gonna say that's pretty good right there. Let's get a nice little drippy action going. Get a little taste. Oh yeah. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I cranked the oven up to 375 degrees Fahrenheit just to get a little more color on them. That took a total of about 10 minutes to get to where they are now. We'll let these sit here for about 5 more minutes to cool off, and then we'll get them onto a plate and we'll taste them, see how they are. All right, and here's the final product. My cheese has gotten cold because I've been taking 1,000 pictures. Got a taquito. I'm gonna try to scoop some cheese. Oh God. If your cheese gets like this, feel free to pop it in the microwave for 30 seconds or so. Give that a look. Taste. This is so much better than the last ones I made. Now, I know that's not gonna help you if you happen to have like a craving for taquitos, but if you're looking for some nostalgia like I am, then maybe it's worth trying this out for yourself. So in the South, I'm going to say right now that gas station breakfast is probably the most top tier breakfast you can get. I don't know if it's like that everywhere else in the country or even in other countries, but the thing I would always get is the breakfast bowl. It was usually grits, eggs, cheese, bacon, sausage, more cheese. So obviously that was delicious, and I usually even made it even tastier by adding sausage gravy, which was just, you know, the icing on top of this already dense bowl of food. But eventually I became keto, so I started dropping the gravy and the grits, so I was left with eggs, cheese, bacon, and sausage, which was, you know, that's a good breakfast in my opinion. And that's what I'm going to recreate today. It's going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to do some scrambled eggs. I'll use a little cheddar. I'll chop up some bacon. I'm going to make a sausage gravy. And if you've ever seen my biscuits and gravy video, it's going to be a very similar recipe to that. But it's just past 10:30 and I'm getting hungry, so let's get started. As you can see, this pan is already dirty. That's because I took the liberty of going ahead and cooking my bacon. But anyways, I've got my dirty bacon pan, and I've got just over 4 ounces of breakfast sausage. This is from Swaggerty Farms. This is probably the cleanest sausage I can get in most stores around me. And I do have a recipe for breakfast sausage if you would like that as well. I can leave that down in the description. Simply take your sausage and break it up. We're going to use a spatula to break it up even more. All right, it's about 50% done. I'm gonna take about a quarter teaspoon of black pepper and get that in there just to get that toasting a little bit. So the pepper is obviously gonna be a very strong smell at the beginning, but once you toast it, it kind of mellows out and it almost smells a little bit fruity. And my sausage is now about 95% of the way cooked. The black pepper is smelling fruity. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a half cup of heavy cream along with 1.5 ounces of cream cheese. And that's gonna be our main thickener for this. But the cream will also thicken. The first time I ever made this, I did not add cream cheese. And it will get to a point where you need to stop before it's too thick because as it cools off, it thickens up even more. All right, you see how I have all these bubbles going on? That means there's not a whole lot of water content left in here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the heat and let that stay just like this. Let's give this a little taste for salt and pepper just to check. I didn't add any salt to this because the sausage is usually quite salty. And I think it's perfect, honestly. I didn't need any salt. All right, let's get these eggs rolling and we'll be almost done. I'm gonna turn this over medium heat, let this heat up, and then we will add about 1.5 tablespoons of butter, get that melting. Crack in 3 eggs. Gonna hit that with a little bit of salt, just a little bit of pepper. Oh, that was a lot of pepper. Just scramble. And if you want sunny side up eggs or over easy, there's really no wrong way to do this part. And that shouldn't take long at all. Put that right into a bowl. Take some sharp cheddar cheese, add just a little bit on top of that. Add some of our sausage gravy. I'm gonna go ahead and just chop a little bit, a couple pieces of it. Just throw that right on top. And if I am, I'll take just a little more cheddar and shred it right on top of the whole thing. And there it is. That's our little gas station breakfast bowl. It's obviously simple, but it's something that I don't think everybody's experienced. After all that, let's go ahead and give this thing a taste. Yeah, talk about nostalgic. This reminds me of having to take my brother to work at 4 a.m., drop him off, and on my way home, I'd stop and get some breakfast at this gas station that was on the way. This is basically what this was. It was almost exactly this. So, cheers. All right, so what'd you think of that video? I really hope you liked it. If you have any comments about these new styles of videos that I've been putting out lately, I would love to hear them. Doing it this way has made it a lot easier for me to get these videos out a bit faster, but if you like the other way, just tell me in the comments below because I know most of my longtime viewers are not used to me freestyling my entire script. So if you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't like the video, I don't care. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you all in the next one.